Shane Skaar, CEO of Streignth, one of my good buddies, someone I'm lucky God placed my path in yours. And in the last 5 years, you've bootstrapped a fitness company from $0, from ground zero, to actually $100,000 in debt, to now aiming for $1 million in revenue this upcoming year. What are the 3 lessons or takeaways that you've taken from these last 5 years you can share with the audience?
Oh, man. 3 things, man. Come on now. Putting me on the spot. Okay. So number 1 is, so I got my first tattoo in 2022, right? Started the brand in 2019. The first few years, and I have a principle in my head, right? Just one of my beliefs is you only need 2 things to achieve anything in life. You need discipline and presence. So my whole right arm is going to be discipline-related things like the lion. Wow. And then presence is going to be like God and patience, because I became a lot more religious in the past year or so because I started going to church consistently and grew a lot closer to God. So that's one thing, is you can achieve anything with patience and discipline.
Wow. That's powerful.
Because, dude, like, everybody has big goals and they want to achieve big things. Like, trust me, I want strength to grow. I want it to keep growing, and it is. But I thought it would be way bigger than it is currently. But I just got to stay the course because now things are happening exponentially. You know?
Yeah. Talk about that too. So that's the first takeaway. That's actually so cool. That's something I didn't even know as one of my good friends is. So discipline and presence / like your faith on one arm. So that's one takeaway that you've had. But what's another takeaway you would say, maybe a struggle or something that you can advise the audience to keep pushing through?
Yeah. Relating to the 3 things, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the next thing I'd say is building a team is crucial. Like, you have to build a team, and it's so much more fun. I used to think, I need to be the main face of the brand, which I still am, like, as a CEO and such. But the most important thing that I've realized is when you get the right people involved, it's so much more fun. And it's hard because it's a delicate balance of, I want to enjoy the people I work with, but at the same time, I need to be productive with them. So I've cycled through a few people that are, like, still good friends with. Like, I started the company with my cousin, you know.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I still love him. I've known him since I was 10 days old. And we had a little bit of a rough patch after buying him out back in 2020. And so the last few years, it's been kind of on the rocks. Like, it's kind of just the elephant in the room. But thankfully, as of like the last 6 months, shout out to Tolston if you're watching this, like, we've grown a lot closer now. It feels great. So that's kind of that segues to the third thing, is time heals all.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Don Tolliver says. But for real, though, like, time heals all. And I've had to, like, it's weird. You just got to appreciate everybody that's in your life when they are, because some people are, you told me this, man. You told me, you say the 3 things.
Oh, restate the 3 things that
Yeah.
you've gone over?
No. So the seasons thing.
Oh, so everyone comes into your life for a season, a reason, or a lifetime, or a reason, a season, or a lifetime. So, not everyone's going to stick out for your lifetime, but that's because God hasn't planned that for you. So I believe that everyone that God puts in your life comes into your life for a reason, or a season, or a lifetime. And so it's super cool because you can kind of look at experiences, and a reason might be someone comes in your life for a month, 2 months, 3 months, and helps you get through something or teaches you a lesson, or maybe they even hurt you. But when them hurting you actually teaches you a very valuable lesson. And then a season, seasons are great. Seasons are awesome because those people are going to actually make a pretty lasting impact in your life. And it might be an impact where they hurt you really bad, which festers a pretty big growth, or maybe they've really cultivate you and help you grow. But that season ends, and maybe you guys go down different paths, and you realize, this is a person that's no longer directing me towards where I want to go, and then you have to leave that person. And then a lifetime, man, those are the people you have to hold on to, obviously super close. Those are where you want to spend all of your energy and your time, and those are the relationships that are going to carry you through the toughest times in your life. Those are the people that are going to be at your funeral. Those are the people that are going to be at your wedding. Those are the people that you don't want to let go of. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, man.
Dude,
those are the 3.
Absolutely. That ties back into the second part, going back to, like, building a team too. Dude, I mean, it all ties together. Bringing on a valuable, like, if for business owners out there, you bring on a freaking workhorse, somebody that's fully aligned with the mission, that understands what's going on. I think you're having him as a guest soon. Dude, shout out to Jimmy. My guy, Jimmy, I brought him on. He kills it with us, and it just showed me. I brought in my first full-time employee, which is him, and it's my best friend since kindergarten, somebody I've known forever.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing about that is when we were in high school, I worked at Subway, right?
Yeah.
And so I tried to get him to work with me at Subway. And our boss, he's a great guy, but he was like, I don't know if I can trust you guys working together. And look at us now. We're killing it.
That's pretty funny, man. And yeah, so Jimmy, episode 4, tune into that, coming out the week after this, a week from today. But yeah, Jimmy's awesome. And I think that's something I want to dive into because you've had your cousin in your company. Now you've had Jimmy in your company. And walking both those barriers are very fine lines. So it's very hard to navigate because obviously you and Jimmy have been friends since kindergarten, right? It's kindergarten. And so it's like the last thing, like your friendship is more important than like your business relationship because that was the thing that precedented that. But sometimes it's hard to figure it out when it's like, I think you guys have a very good relationship, especially now, but even tying it back to the cousin, it's like business with family is very difficult as well.
Yeah.
So the 3 takeaways, obviously time heals all, discipline, presence, and your faith on both arms, which I didn't even know, which is super cool. And then the last thing was
build the team.
Build the team. So building the team, let's start there. So when you want to build a team, I think it comes down to the leader, the person in charge. And you're only 24 years old. You started this journey at 18 or 19? 18 years old. So how does someone who's 18 years old build a team from ground up and actually display leadership in a way that other people who may be older want to like follow that leader? And like, how do you, because not just follow, but you've created other leaders from this.
That's a great question. All right. So I tell everybody, so we have an ambassador program, right? It's the core of what we do because we have people that represent us that we also coach in fitness, personal branding, and business. So for the viewers out there, definitely if you're interested, we can maybe include a link where they can apply and check that out. But I always hop on calls with every rep that joins, every client / team member we have. And I always tell them, because a lot of them are around 18, 19 years old. I tell them initially, I'm like, hey, you're freshman in college. Just want you to know you can achieve literally so much at your age. I was your age and I started the brand. And the thing that you lack when you're younger, especially, is the experience, and you think you know everything. And I'm right now at 24 years old thinking that I know a lot more than I did before, which is true. But I'll look back at this podcast in 5 years and I'll be like, bro, I still didn't know what the heck I was doing. So just starting early is definitely amazing. And you're 22, right?
I'm 22.
And you started a podcast.
Yeah.
So that's freaking awesome. It's like any age can start, right? Like, because we work with people all ages. I was on a call last week with someone that joined our team that's like 53 and 45 and 38. So it's not about like when you start, it's just about starting and then being consistent. Like if you're not going to go all in on something, don't do it.
Ooh.
That's the thing. Like it's 0 or 100 for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree. I think there's, and it comes down to like having one thing because a lot of people have so many ideas. They have so much, it causes anxiety. Alex Hormozy talks about when you have so many options, like people younger and they have lots of tools and they have lots of knowledge, or maybe not lots of knowledge, but lots of capability. Like I could go this route or I could go this route. When you have all those options, it causes anxiety because you're not picking a focus and you're like, you're taking one step in 10 different directions instead of 10 steps in one direction. Yeah. So that's when I was like, okay, well, you with Streignth, me with the podcast. Now we're taking all of our steps in one direction. And it's super cool because that's how you make the progress.
Right.
So I think the kind of key when you're starting young is take steps in the same direction and consistency. Keep taking steps. Yeah. Even if they're the smallest of steps, you're still moving that way. You're not moving backwards. And but you're going to have days where you might move a little bit backwards, but that's not bad. It's just don't do it the next day.
The biggest thing you lack at the beginning is the experience and the reps, right? Like you don't know what you don't know. So my first couple of years when I started the company, I was like trying to learn so much. I was trying to learn how to managing people was the hardest thing for me to figure out. And we'll get into that probably more later. But first it was social media, how the algorithm works. Then it's how to make content, how to make schedules on how to post that content, how to structure your schedule of school, work, and social life, right? Trying to find a work-life balance.
Quote unquote,
yeah, we both know it's kind of BS. You got to go all in certain periods. But yeah, that's
and so
answer that.
Yeah. I'm gonna dive into it a little bit deeper. So creating leaders as a leader. Okay. So like, what's one thing you would say to someone who's just starting a company, just starting a small business, just starting maybe content creation, to the people they're around, making them leaders along with them. So if that question makes sense. So like just one little thing that you found has worked for you.
Success leaves clues. Look at what other people are doing and see what they might, like, you don't copy people, right? But you look at success because it leaves clues. Like, look at what, like, I look at, for example, I was looking at somebody I look up to, like a role model of mine's Instagram account. And I'm seeing, how do they market themselves? How do they portray themselves? They're not trying to get sales every single post. They're just posting themselves. They have a personal brand.
They're being authentic, man.
They're being authentic.
So there's that combination of seeing what success, like, dude, I love that. I don't think I've ever heard that in my life, is success leaves clues.
Yeah.
So success leaves clues, so you can kind of see what others are doing, but then you always have to put your authentic self to it. And that's the thing I love about the podcast is, dude, no matter what ideas or quotes I say, it's like, this is an hour and 15 minutes of just me. Like, I can't put on a facade for this long.
No.
Like, no one can put on a facade in long form content. So like, when people are watching this podcast, they know it's just me. Like what, and I think the good thing about when you're taking some quotes from other people, it's not stealing it, but something I say might resonate with the audience way more than the way someone else says it. So like Alex Hormozy, he may say it in a way that's like makes people feel like, you know, a little stupid or something like that. Versus if they hear me say the same thing Alex Hormozy says, maybe it resonates with the person better, or maybe how the way he says it resonates with someone way better. So that's where it's like, you know, maybe repurposing content and applying your authentic self is always the key. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, can't be afraid to be yourself, man. Like, the more you show yourself, for someone that's trying to make it with social media involved, we talk about this too. The kind of content that will resonate with people is just you being you, talking to the camera. TikTok lives, dude, craziness. They're awesome. Like, it's like long form. It's just like this.
It's 100%. You have to be yourself.
Yeah.
I think some people do kind of not get away, but they can put on a facade for so long.
Yeah.
Like, have you seen that Zacharific guy? The guy who just acts like he's like super humble or something on his hat.
No, I haven't
and he's
seen
not
that.
humble. Like, he'll drop like $100 bills out of his pocket.
He does that on purpose?
He'll drop them out and be like, "Oh, my bad. Like, that's so embarrassing. I didn't mean to." It's hilarious. But like, dude, that works for him. But I think he's deep down like a genuine dude.
Yeah.
It's just like making a funny content. It's like a comedic skit. But
Right.
that won't work for the 99% of people. You know, the only way you're going to work is you resonate and you're authentic and you bring yourself every day.
100%.
And so that kind of leads me into the next topic. So you're someone who I've talked to a lot that says on a good day, you can get into deep work for about 7 to 8 hours. How have you been able to do that, especially from a young age when the average person starts out only being able to do 1 hour of deep work a day and can usually work up to about 3 or 4 hours of deep work a day? But that's usually the cap. So how have you been able to surpass that?
Okay, great question. All right, so everything starts with how you wake up, right? The first hour of my day is crucial. Really, like, it's not perfect, right? Not every morning's like this, but just what works for me. I wake up, immediately take a cold shower, immediately, right? Get up, do that. I wash my face, and then I'll put my contacts in, do my bed, make my bed. And I'll immediately meditate. I have a meditation made actually for the strength athletes, and it's my voice. So it's kind of weird. I listen to my own voice leading a meditation, but you don't have to have a guided meditation. You can just be quiet in your own. I prefer to do it outside if it's not too cold out where you guys live. But like, because we're in Florida, or just anywhere where it's quiet, just meditate 10 to 15 minutes. That really sets me up for just kind of quieting the mind, right? Because we're not our thoughts. We're the listener of our thoughts. Like, we're the observer of our thoughts. Our thoughts aren't us.
We can control our thoughts, but we also, thoughts just come up sometimes, and being able to navigate those thoughts because you have an inner peace from the beginning of the day is the best way, because you can choose like, that's a good thought, and you can like build off that.
Right.
Versus if you let a bad thought catch your attention, then you can build off that. And it's like, if you're able to pick those good thoughts all day long, that sets you up for success, because now you believe in yourself. Now you have positive reinforcement in your brain all the time. And now these things that you've been repeating, they work out. So, okay. So actually, I'm sorry I had to interrupt, but this is a question I have on all my podcasts is, run me through a day in your life, the habits, the routines. So you're already kind of getting into it. So I'm just going to ask that question off the bat right now. So let's continue.
Okay.
Now
so
you meditate.
Yep, we do that. And then as of this week, we just started working out in the mornings, and
Boom.
that's better. It's way better. So that's the first 30 minutes of my day. I'll do all that. So I'll get myself nice looking, decent, meditate for 15 minutes, drive to the gym for 30, work out for an hour, hour and a half. And then I immediately start working. But before I work, what works for me is I got to have some kind of hydration, like electrolyte. So we have strength hydration. I don't have it with me right here, but that you needed some kind of like electrolytes like Gatorade or whatnot. I'll do that.
Yeah.
And then I'll do a high protein meal. For me, I'm not as productive if I have a lot of carbs because it fogs my brain. So as high protein breakfast as possible. So I'll do like Greek yogurt with strength protein in it, peanut butter, some granola, and sometimes if I have collagen, I'll throw that in too. Okay, so high protein breakfast.
Yeah.
Yep. And then
Right after the gym, get that protein in. Yep.
right. And then I'll start sipping because I usually had a pre-workout. If I went to the gym, I had some pre-workout already, caffeine in my system. And then this isn't the best, but I do have energy drinks. Okay. For me, it's not that you just pound it at once. You have to sip it. For me personally, you have to have something that I like to have a drink, like a work drink. Okay, I'll just sip it as I'm working, and then it kind of just activates in my brain. It's work time for me when I enjoy caffeine. Okay, so with that as well, another tactic I have is I'll either have headphones in for the deep work, or I'll have.
You said, I think to me, you like playing the same song over and over, right?
Yeah.
To get into a sense of deep work. So you'll have headphones in, quiet out the noise, or you'll have some sort of loop that's getting you like kind of locked in.
Right.
Okay.
I'll play the same song, or I'll look up. My go-to September was Highest in the Room by Travis Scott, and it was like a 4-hour repeat of the song.
Oh, wow.
And it just works for me. Like at some point, I just forget it's playing. And another huge tip for business owners and people just trying to be productive is I try to have all my meetings in the afternoons and on one day.
Yeah.
You taught me that.
Yeah. So I want to talk about the importance of that. So first, my first question that's going to lead into the second question is, what does deep work as a CEO of a fitness apparel company, Streignth, look like?
Yep.
And then how do you navigate that deep work and then allocate your time mostly to those? Because we've talked about this, about, as the CEO, the deep work is where you should be spending your time, the deep work in the IPAs, so the income producing activities, and the shallow work, that's where you got to almost try to mitigate that and give that to someone else as much as you can.
Palmer and I were heading to the gym one day, and I was on the phone call, and when I got done, you're like, who was that? I'm like, just one of my customer service related tasks I have to do. Customer wasn't happy, had to make sure we resent a new pair of shorts or something like that. And he's like, what are you doing? Why are you dealing with that? I'm like, I just got to make sure customer service is there. And you know what? My dad, he's an insurance agent, and he always tells me, he's like, you need to handle problems immediately, which I agree with. But at the same time, if you can outsource and hire somebody that is more qualified and or will do a better job than you, then you can save your brain power for the more important tasks, like you said, the income creating activities. So you've helped me realize a lot in the last few weeks, and one of them is that.
Yeah. No, I think for sure, because you're taking that call, and I think because I'm on the outside, it's easy. I think when you're in it, it's like, because I get what you're trying to do. You're being authentic. You're trying to solve these problems. But it's like, hey, if you have a really trustable person on your team, it's like, and you let them make the decisions, like, hey, I trust you to make these decisions. But if it's a big problem, come to me with the problem.
Right.
Other than that, you take care of it. And when you can do that, now all these problems, all these things that don't produce income are kind of off your plate. And now it's like, how do I scale? How do I grow? How do I increase margins? Because I remember the week after, you're like, I increased my margins by just cutting a couple items, by doing this. And now you're able to make those things that make the difference and put you on a projection for 2025 being your best year exponentially from the last few years.
Yep. And, like you said, making leaders, right? So I have Jimmy, Diego. These guys are handling sales calls, for example. So I'm doing some sales calls related to Skaar Enterprise Coaching. But I'm able to bring these guys in and just trust that they know how to do things. And honestly, one thing that I really need to work on, and it's really important as a business owner, I think, is just having patience in people and knowing how to manage and teach them just one time the right way. Because it's not their fault if they screw up. It's yours as the business owner. Because you didn't teach them how to do it correctly. You have to have that extreme ownership.
100%. I think when you're at the top, if things start going awry below you, it's all a sign of the leadership at the top.
Yeah.
And so I think building core values, having a mission, having people that you can trust is a key. And I think you've been able to filter, not in a bad way, but filter through the people that maybe, not that you can't trust, but there's different work ethics. And
Totally.
a brand like Streignth, where I see it going, what it stands for, it's like you need to have those people that are driven, that are working, and want to see it grow, because the competition in this industry is no joke.
No.
But I mean, y'all are getting up there. You're competing. You're the underdog that's going to take over. In my belief, I believe it. So it's like I can't wait to see this happen. But something I want to tie it back to is, as I mentioned, from ground zero to actually $100,000 in debt, 6 figures in debt, to now projected for $1 million in revenue next year. At what point was that $100,000 in debt? Was that 20 years old?
So that was last year.
Wow.
Yeah.
So 23?
2022 was rough. It was
Okay.
It was like the end of 2022 to 2023.
Okay, so you were 22, 23 years old.
Yeah.
How does someone manage being $100,000 in debt at that age, at 22 years old, and not like get flustered? Or you probably were, but how do you deal with that? Because that's a number that like most people our age are like, wow, that's a crazy amount of money, but it's the negative.
Dude, amazing question. So I always knew we'd get out. It wasn't a matter of if, it was when and how. And when you're in that, I'll tell you right now, it feels like crap. It feels, you kind of try to forget about it some days. You're like, push it off, just keep showing up. And it definitely is kind of the elephant in the back of your head. It's like, dude, I'm in debt. What am I doing? But it forces you to grow so much because you're forced in a corner. It's like, okay.
There's only one way out.
There's only one way out, and it's up, right? Rock bottom, baby. So I was investing into the wrong people, the wrong agencies. I was paying people that would leave, like influencers, for example. And then I just realized, dude, I need to actually look at my finances. I got really good at that. I brought on some mentors, and shout out to my mentor, Dan. I couldn't pay him for like 6 months. That's a lot. And he still kept meeting with me and believed. He's like, dude, you have something great going. It was just about fine-tuning the program and fine-tuning the process. And just slowly but surely, we have dug our way out. And now we figured out different way. Like, if we never went in debt, we wouldn't have the program we have today.
I mean, 100%, dude. It's like, if the things that didn't happen, you never would have learned the lessons. And maybe if you weren't $100,000 in debt and you only $75,000 in debt, you wouldn't have like put the foot to the ground as much. I don't know.
No,
you never know.
Seriously.
But it's like, seriously, like you see that number and it's intimidating, dude. It's scary. But at 22, so was it personal or company debt? Was it under the LLC?
Okay, so everything, all the money that I make, it goes right back into the business. I keep as much as I need to survive.
Like to live.
Yeah, currently, to be honest, like I'm not saving as much as I should be. I invest everything back in the business because I want to grow, which it is.
Oh, dude, you have to.
You have to. I'm 5 years in. I'm still investing everything back in the company.
Yeah, and I don't think people realize that. People see a startup, people see you bootstrapping a fitness company, and they're like, wow, like Shane's doing well, like Streignth's growing.
Yeah.
They hear the backstory of he was in debt, but now he's doing great. Like the company's growing exponentially. But I don't think they get like every single dollar is going back in, because if you don't invest that money, there's no way to grow the company.
Nope. No. Yeah, money doesn't grow on trees, man. You have to put it back into different avenues. So, you want to hear like the plan I have?
Yeah, let's hear a little plan. Share what you can share and give as much insight to the audience who maybe want to start their own venture in a fitness company or any sort of thing, because to provide that I think is super insightful, especially from someone that can relate to 24 years old, because I think a lot of people see the advice from 40-year-olds and they're like, they're not in it. Like, you're in it. You're now striving in 2024, 2025 coming, but it's like from a 24-year-old perspective who's doing it right now.
Yeah. So just to kind of try to put you guys in my shoes here, I'm like 23 years old. I, at one point in debt as well, I was in 200 pounds. Like, I was bulked on purpose. I was in a relationship, and, I'm grateful for how all that went, but parts of me felt like overall in life, in every regard, I was settling, right? And also going back to like the 2022, 2023 era, on the cusp of 2023, I was doing sportswear the whole time. It was strength sportswear. There was no supplements. There was no lifting belts. There was no ambassador program. It is now. And there was no like strength training or gladiator package or Skaar Enterprise coaching. The coaching is where I find a lot of fulfillment. I enjoy it a lot because we're able to make a way bigger difference. We just kept doing these drops like for 4 or 5 years. It was just, our whole brand was just drops. And I had no way of predictably scaling. So what if you do a drop and you order all this apparel, then they don't like it? That's what happened. We did an apparel drop, and I ordered so much product that got delayed for 3 or 4 months because I put all my eggs in one basket.
Wow.
That's how it all started. I thought, the key is
this will work.
Yeah.
It was vintage apparel, correct?
That was a really bad launch. This is actually a different one.
Okay, so there was a
That one was
couple
really
bad
bad.
launches that made the debt pile up.
Right.
So what was the first one that put you like, oh wow, like that missed pretty bad?
It was when I completely outsourced my warehouse, and I had products trying to get sent there. It was a 3PL, third-party logistics company, and it was like 3 or 4 months delayed because I put all my eggs in one basket on the manufacturer, and then the manufacturer gets delayed. What do you do when you don't have product? You can't sell. So I couldn't sell for like 4 months, and I'm paying these influencers and people that I don't have SOPs made for. SOPs are standard operating procedures for people that don't know.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, dude, what if we got into supplements? Right?
Okay.
We got into stops.
Yeah.
And that was huge because it's something that they can buy every month.
So was this the start of the climbing out of the debt?
Yeah.
Was the supplements?
Yep.
And now like these products are on hand. You're not selling stuff you don't have. So now you can start to climb your way out of here. And how did supplements fare versus the clothing drops? Like, was that faring well?
Yeah. So we introduced like the whole ambassador program with the gift card and such, where they get a gift card each month.
Yeah.
And it's like, you get a gift card each month. How the heck are you supposed to buy product if you don't have product? Well, supplements we were able to invest into, which was more costly, of course.
So you're going more in debt to climb yourself out of debt, which is got to be frightening at that point.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, sometimes you think, oh, gosh, is there going to be a light at the end of the tunnel? But then you do, and you innovate. And, yeah, now, I mean, we're about to be doing like 6-figure months. So
from 6-figure debt to 6-figure months.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow, that's pretty crazy. And I want to tie this back to, for us, I know you're a man of God. You said you've gotten closer to God in your last few years, going to church, reading the Word, and that kind of thing. And your left arm stands for presence and almost faith. How has that helped you get through those times? Those times where, head on the pillow, dude, you're probably looking up at the ceiling and you're like, wow, I'm $100,000 in debt. I don't feel like I'm going to get out. Because at that point, like, you believe, like, I'm going to get out. But sometimes you probably had the nights where, bro, that's scary. You're probably like, man, I'm $100,000 in debt. I know I'm going to get out. How am I going to get out? And you can pray. I think praying, was that a big factor in your life?
Prayer, I pray every night. I've been doing that since I was like 12, I think. But the prayers just get more in depth as the faith grows. And so, yeah, that's been something where God, I really leaned on my faith because, dude, this kind of relates to when I was so out of alignment, dude. Like, my question now that I ask, and I've told you about this,
I like this a
through
lot.
everything I do, I ask, is it in alignment with my greater purpose, which is to grow strength? And then strength is it's not a Christian brand, but I have Christian values. And if you follow me and you see the kind of content I post, you can tell that I am a very Christian-based creator and believer and a follower of Christ. And it's grown a lot, and it's really helped. It really helped in the hard time, for sure.
100%, man. I think that's super cool. Yeah, so I want to dive more into, has faith always been a part in your life, or do you have a specific testimony that started to drive you closer to your faith?
Yeah, so I grew up Catholic.
Okay.
And I got like communion, first communion, confirmation, all that. I didn't really jive with it because it's so traditional and it was just kind of like the same thing. But now that we're in Tampa and I go to Radiant, a year before I came down here, obviously like I was going to a church called First Free. I just prefer the non-denominational ones. Not trying to push religion on anybody. It's just kind of like
it's preference.
Yeah.
That's what you resonate with. And then obviously Radiant, it hits like the message. You got to find what works for you.
Right.
So
totally, dude. I really appreciate the environment, and we got a group of boys that we're meeting with every Wednesday and talking about the Lord and business. And dude, I didn't really have anything like this back in Wisconsin.
yeah, I want to dive deep into that. So something you had is you moved from Wisconsin, La Crosse, Wisconsin, all the way to Tampa, Florida. And when you made this decision, some of the people in your life that you had kind of thought were your good friends, maybe they were, maybe they weren't, but they kind of held you back. They're like, Shane, why are you doing that? Like, you're not going to succeed down there. Strength's going to go into the drain. Like, if you make that jump and you're like, no, this is the next step for Strength. Like, I think I can grow my personal brand. I can grow Strength as a whole. Like, this is the step. But those people were actually telling you, like, this isn't going to work. And these were people who you thought were friends. So I want to dive into, how do you, I think you've started to see, but how do you know you're surrounding yourself with the right people? And how do you know you're investing your time, or not know, but like, how important is it to invest your time in the right people? Because you only have so much energy every day.
Dude, beautiful question. And, it goes with everything. You're a product of your environment. I have no bad blood to anybody, nor Wisconsin, of course. I love Wisconsin. That's where the warehouse is.
It made you, bro.
It made me, baby. So
Yeah.
I go to Wisconsin for like the holidays because my family's there and such. And the warehouse is still there in La Crosse. So, yeah, majority of people supported the move. They were like, dude, that's awesome. And I kept it so low key. Like, I didn't really tell anybody except my closest friends, like maybe a couple weeks before. I'm like, hey, this is what I'm doing. And most people were like, dude, yeah, like, we support you 100%. I got to come visit you. Like, dude, you guys are welcome anytime. But I had a couple people that had a problem with it that were close to me, and it really rubbed me the wrong way.
It hurts, man. It's
It
the
hurts,
people closest to you, and it's something you're excited about, and they shoot it down, man.
Because it doesn't serve them. Like, that's why. Like,
it's selfish, you know. Because like, if you told me, like, obviously, if you told me I'm moving to Texas tomorrow, like, I think this is gonna take it to the next brand. Obviously, I think you're far from it, knowing like your journey to Tampa and whatever. But if you told me that would hurt, like, it would hurt me. But I'd be like, dude, if that's the next step, 100%, I'm gonna support you. I'm gonna watch you go there, and I'm gonna come out there and support the brand Strength and support you. But that would hurt, bro. It would hurt me, but I want to see you win so much that I'd be like, let's go. Versus, like, the selfish person would be like, man, why are you leaving? Like, those kind of things. So I think it's just that really deep down wanting the person to do the best, and like having to support them in that venture, knowing like, hey, this is the next step for this person. And so obviously you love Tampa, you're not going to Texas, but
dude,
it's like
great.
knowing that. And so I think, and then how to allocate your time. So we've talked about this. A lot of people talk about the work-life balance, and I think it's in some sense kind of made up when you're in these beginning stages. There isn't much, but how can you make sure you're like at peace? I think when you're working on something you care about so deeply, it doesn't really seem like, you're always working. It's like this thing you're passionate about, this thing you care about, you're growing, and it's almost like it's your thing. So it's like you talked a lot about how you had to sacrifice a lot of nights out, a lot of nights, whatever, maybe not out, but a lot of activities maybe you wanted to venture into to grow this brand for 5 to 6 years. So how do you make sure you're allocating your energy most efficiently towards the things that matter in the business, but also taking care of the things that matter in your life, so like relationships, like time, family, other things?
That's great. Okay, so I had this pattern happen a couple weeks ago where I had a couple like just girlfriends I was talking to, and they said the same kind of thing. They're like, dude, like you don't communicate. Like, I don't know what's going on in your head. Even if I'm just at a friend level with them, it's like, what's going on? Like, you seem like you don't care about my life. And that's something that I've done, like the inner work, because you have to do the inner work and ask yourself, like, okay, am I doing a good enough job, or am I just not prioritizing somebody? I don't know. The biggest thing is the communication's got to be there. And in hindsight, because we talk about hindsight 2020, everything makes sense looking back. I think I'll be able to say, like, when we make it, which I don't know when that's going to be, just when
could be 5 years, could be a year, could be 10, you never know.
Right. I'm going to be able to look back and say, like, dude, I'd make a lot of sacrifices in relationships. And it's going back to their seasons, right? So I moved down here for one sole purpose, to grow the brand. It wasn't to be with somebody. It wasn't to try something different. Well, yes and no.
Those on the back end. But
on the back end.
It's like, I like to talk about it in like the ones and tens. It's like right now strength. So you have different things in your life. So strength, working out, different things, like different activities in your life. So strength's a 10. Working out, maybe that's a part of your brand, so that's up there, but you can only really fully pursue one thing. So it's like if you have to work on the business that day, you're going to sacrifice a gym day to work on the business.
Right.
So it's like knowing that you have a season where it's still strength. Like that is number one.
Yep.
And then number two is the gym. So if I have to miss a day for the gym, I can, 3 months on the line when I got strength where I want it, I have some systems and processes in place where other people are going to take care of these things.
Yeah.
Then I can really build my physique.
Totally. So you taught me about this book called Here on a Mission.
Yeah.
And to be honest, bro, I already finished it.
Oh,
yeah. I
let's
finished it
go.
like the first day, bro.
No way.
Yeah. Well, I'm a podcaster. I'm an Audible guy.
Okay.
So I'll listen to, I don't have the time sometimes to like fully read. So I'll listen when I'm driving and such. And I already made my year 1, 5, and 10 goals. And so I think I recommend for people that are around our age in their 20s, especially men, don't worry about finding the special person, right?
Yeah.
away. Like, dude, that's going to come, but we need to be able to provide for them. Like,
100%.
it's going to be so much easier if we just focus on the work now. And the season in our life right now is to just make the foundation, and then, like you said, delegate, get people in leadership positions. So then we have more time to be able to actually go on dates and give somebody the time they need.
And full intentional time.
Right.
Because if you have the systems and processes in place in your business, you can go on that date and fully let go and like enjoy that time with that person. Versus if you're still in the weeds, you're still grinding strength out. It's like you're gonna be on that date, not giving your all to that girl you're on that date with. Whether it's gonna work out to be the one or not, you'll never know because you weren't fully there.
Yeah.
And so I think that's important. By the way, me and Shane just hit a lift. We work out at Gold's in Tampa, so it was a fire lift.
Yep.
But yeah, we were talking about finding the right person. And it's like, I was actually talking about this last night with someone else. And it's like depending on who you are, a big goal for most people is actually, having a family and having a healthy family.
Right.
But one of the things, I think the two biggest things that cause divorce are infidelity and finances. So infidelity obviously comes from morals, values, and not having like honesty and like obviously betraying that person, not being loyal. But the second thing is finances. And that comes down to almost a decision when you're younger to put your all into that business and make that decision to, first of all, you can get involved with someone, but lay that foundation with them before you go having kids, before you put that financial burden and stress on your family that you could have waited 2 to 3 years to have a kid and not put that stress on yourselves.
Seriously.
So I think that's super important, is actually analyzing your life and like, is it smart to have a kid? Let's say you meet the right girl at 26 years old, or should I spend some time with this girl, married or like engaged, married, whatever it is, and wait to have that kid until everything's set, my business is set, I can go and take 2 weeks off because I have the systems and processes in place to where now 2 weeks off is going to do nothing. I can come back into strength and everything's going to be just as I left it or better.
It's literally delayed gratification, bro. It's like, yeah, it'd be nice to have a kid right now, but we're not ready.
We're not ready, man. And so I think what C-Bum said on a podcast, which was so cool to me, it's been sitting with me for weeks, is that, when you're a kid and you're growing up and you're seeing your parents, you see them as your hero, as your mentor. But when you grow up fully and you become an adult, you see every insecurity that your parents didn't deal with when they were younger, when they were growing up. And you see those things. You see the flaws they have. And so it's like right now is the time that we've got to dive into those insecurities. We've got to dive in and reflect on the past so that when we have our kids, when they grow up, they don't see as many of those insecurities.
Right.
And you can lead them down the right path.
Yes, dude. You have to do the inner work before, or else you're not going to lead by example for your kids. For sure, man.
Yeah. And the biggest thing I don't like, and this brings me up to a point, when people say is, oh, do as I say, not as I do. That will never work, man. It will never work because if a kid sees a parent doing something, inherently they're going to say, even though you tell me not to do that, you do it. You're my model, you're my hero, you're my mentor. As a kid, they see that. That's the person they look up to. Whether they know it's wrong or they know it's right, the person that they love most and they see as their hero and their mentor and their parent is doing the thing. So it's like it's crazy, man.
Yeah. So, I mean, no matter what, if you grow up with parents that set the example positively or negatively, you still have the opportunity to learn correctly, because if they were positive role model, then you say, okay, great, I can be exactly like them. If they weren't, then you know exactly what not to do. I think David Goggins talks about that a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. And so one thing I want to dive into next is you actually put out an intro video to you and your brand today. It's absolutely great. I think if I can, I'm going to link it to this video, actually, to this podcast on YouTube. So click on that video. But this video, you talk about something we've actually never talked about. And it was a chest condition that you had for years and something you were very insecure about. And so it's going to lead into my question, which I'm assuming it'll answer this question. But what is the biggest adversity that you've faced in your life? And can you reflect on that in a positive way now?
Absolutely, dude. Yeah, it's such a layup alley-oop. Okay, so I was born with a chest condition called Pactus excavatum. So the first 15 years of life, I was really insecure. Never had my shirt off, and basically my sternum just caved in. And it's genetic. My grandpa had it that I never met, and my kids might have it, but my grandkids will definitely probably have it. Like just on the guy side, I think, because my sisters are normal. They never had anything. But yeah, so I had a metal bar put in the side of my chest, and they went whoop, and they popped up my sternum, instantly fixing it. They said success was not guaranteed. Pain would be worse than open heart surgery. I didn't have to get the surgery. It wasn't life or death for me to get it, but it actually kind of was, because they did a scale to see how severe it was. You need like a 7. I don't know what it was out of. Mine was like a 13. So it was definitely like, it was affecting my breathing when I was trying to do sprints. Like I'd be like doing track.
It was almost compressing on your lungs, in a sense.
Yep, and puberty made it worse. So then I had the surgery, went amazing, and then I started working out a whole year later.
Wow.
And then I made that, like, that's why I'm so passionate about all this, because it was life or death for me to get in the gym, because I want to keep playing sports. If I got hit super hard being scrawny with the new chest,
it could almost go back in, bro.
Yeah, it could have been game over. So I'm like super motivated to get in the gym. I had a mentor. Every person I 1,000% recommend should have a coach. Every doctor needs a doctor. Every coach needs a coach. Every lawyer needs a lawyer. And so I wasn't a coach, but I needed a coach, right? Had that accountability. Amazing role model. Shout out to Josh Garrison, my guy. And so a few years later, I'm working at Subway and Quick Trip. I'm like, this is fun, but I have something kind of unique. Like, everybody has such a unique story, and they don't give themselves enough credit.
Ooh.
It's true, bro.
Dude, I love it, because some people, they're like, whoa, how would I post content? Like, my life's just normal. And it's like, dude, have you really looked and reflected on the things that make you you? And this actually relates to a verse that I'm going to talk about, or a story in Judges that we're going to talk about tonight. And it talks about, I think his name's Ehud. I don't know. He's one of the judges that in the book of Judges, I think it's verse 3:15 through 21, where God actually gives him the ability to be left-handed, and that actually he allows him to kill the guy who was kind of enslaving the people of Israel and frees them for an amount of time.
Yeah.
And so it's looking at those small things that you would never see as gifts, as the things that make you you, and you can provide as inspiring to others. So for him, it was his left-handedness. For you, it's this chest condition. And for me, it's like I've dove into it, and it was like my OCD, my anxiety. Some people, people struggle with this. I can help them. For you, it's probably a little more rare for people to have that condition, but they can relate in the sense that you faced adversity and you were able to overcome it.
Your power is in your story. Like, your your purpose is in your story, right? Like, what you're set out to do in the world has to do with something that is unique to yourself, that sometimes, like you say, the growth is in the work you avoid doing. It's kind of like your purpose is also in that
the pain,
baggage and the pain. Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
You can't grow without pain.
Yeah, right? Dude. The heroes and the villains both experience pain, but the heroes don't want anyone else to feel the pain, whereas the villains use that pain against other people.
Exactly.
And so it's like you felt that chest thing. You felt the pain of the surgery. You felt the pain of, being embarrassed, that pain of always kind of being scared to be judged.
Yeah.
And you got that surgery. You made that decision. But I guarantee you, if you didn't, you still would have grown to the point where you could have used that pain to make sure no one else ever felt it. You would have grown out of that embarrassment, but you made that decision. You know, I haven't mentioned it on here. I actually got a jaw surgery, so I had an underbite. And so they went in and cut both my jaws on both sides, and they moved my bite back. Cool. And so it's like I didn't have to get that. I think there were some medical things that they advised I would, but it's like I wouldn't want anyone else to go through that pain. Like I had a sling in my mouth. Yeah. I had braces for 9 months in college. And it's like I wouldn't want anyone else to go through that pain, but it's like that shapes us who we are today.
Absolutely. Dude, that's powerful. And I was talking about this with Jimmy yesterday. I don't know how much I want to share with this part, but basically,
just share what you can.
Okay, so everything that happens is for us, not to us, right? And you could say, "Oh, I wish I wasn't as a piece of crap when I was younger in college," because like we both went through like a little bit of a drinking phase, not in alignment. Like we did activities that we wouldn't do now, like going out every weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I did too. Like I talked about that in episode 1,
right?
Where I wasn't proud of everything I did, but it shaped me to the person I'm gonna be now.
Exactly. So we have to like I don't regret anything I've ever done. You can't, right? And like people that watch your podcast that are from your high school or college. I was thinking about this when I was driving here because I've experienced it, right? Yeah. They're gonna see you doing this and succeeding. And most people are going to be happy for you, right? Yeah. Some people might feel a type of way, and that's okay. They came from the same spot as you, and you're not any better than them now. But I believe the work instills the worth and your self-worth. Not that you're better than anybody, but when you show up and you create something like this consistently, people have to respect it. And it's going to inspire the right people, and it's also going to turn some people,
push the wrong people out. Like they're gonna maybe even throw some hate in there, whatever it is. But I've gotten to the point, where I can just like put up a wall and not let that affect me. That's good. And like you said, dude, it comes down to like showing up every day or like every week, not missing a week, because then that's where people are like, oh, I respect that. This guy's done this 100 episodes in a row. Whether I have 100 subscribers or I've built it up to 1,000, whatever number, like the number doesn't matter. If I'm showing up every week, a couple of loyal people are going to be like, wow, I respect this and I'm getting value. And if one thing I say, dude, this is all I care about, is one thing I say, you say, any guest says, influences someone's life and puts someone in a new direction, this is all worth it, man.
It's all worth it.
So
you're doing it the right way. I had a podcast. Some people watching this that know me knew I had a podcast for a while.
Yeah.
All good vibes. My roommate and I just moved out and some stuff, I don't know. We just weren't consistent with it. So I really want to see you keep killing it with this, bro. You got some great plans already you've told me about.
100%. And I think like this group of guys we're building, dude, and especially this is why I wanted us to read this Hero on a Mission book. Yeah. Is because in Hero on a Mission, it's by Donald Miller. I highly recommend you check it out. It's actually in a small group. I read it for the first time with a couple guys who hopefully they'll both hop on this podcast, Jordan, Sterling, and Isaiah. But Jordan and Sterling, we've had a really good group, and we talked through this book, and you actually go and you write your own eulogy. It sounds dark, but it gives you direction. It gives you narrative traction. Are you like walking towards a direction that you want to be the person at your end of your life? So it gives you that narrative traction, like, am I working this way today? And then you go and you write a 10-year, a 5-year, and a 1-year plan. And so the reason I want this group of guys to kind of go through this book is like now we have accountability. We know each other's goals. And obviously things change. But when I look at your brand, where our strength's going to go, I see it and I'm like, okay, maybe you're out of alignment for something. And I want you to state that question again one more time about everything you do. Is it in alignment with strength?
Yeah, totally, man. That's what I do.
For everyone, because that question I think is so important.
Yeah, everything you do, ask yourself, first off, what is your purpose? Figuring that out can be hard. And in the book that Palmer's mentioning, it talks about another book called A Man's Search for Meaning.
Yeah, it's about Viktor Frankl's life, a man who was in the Holocaust, and actually every one of his family members got murdered at the Holocaust. And he had actually implemented a thing called logotherapy, basically saying you can control the way you feel about how you look at things. And so there's 3 things for meaning, 3 purposes for meaning. I'm not going to go into them deep, but basically they're that you look at the challenges you go through in a positive light and learning from them, that you do something that's more than yourself. So you're doing something with others or like with nature, and that you're pursuing a deed or a goal with like your time. So those are the three things for meaning. And if you're missing one, you're going to go into what he calls an existential vacuum. Mm-hmm. So it's that time after you accomplish a goal. And I'm sure people watching this have felt it. But when you feel kind of like, what am I going towards? You kind of feel empty in a sense. Yes. So yeah, keep going. So that's the book.
So kind of a fun fact, I was on Instagram like back in 2021 when I first started reading, and I had a list of like 50 books I wanted to read. That was the first book I read. That was like number one recommended. So I read that like a few years ago, and then I saw that in the book. I was like, let's go. So figure out your purpose, right? Yeah. Figure out what is your number one goal? Like, what is the theme of your life? Okay. Ask yourself, is it in full alignment, like any decision? Okay, my friends want to go out and drink on a Friday night. Ooh. Is it in alignment with growing Streignth to be the best platform possible? It depends on how much work that I perceive we've done that week. In this in this specific circumstance, it's like, okay, Jimmy and I, for example, this past Saturday, we went out for one drink at Armature Works.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel like we had anything to celebrate for, so I was like, let's just go home, bro. Like, we didn't have to go to Soho and get plastered.
No, because you find meaning in different things. Mm-hmm. And the thing is that I want to say about drinking is right now I don't drink at all, but I think drinking it's a good thing. It's a social drinks, and in the word, obviously they drink wine, but they also say do not drink wine to get drunk. Obviously, Jesus died for our sins, and our sins are forgiven. But in the Bible, it does talk about not drinking to get drunk, but drinking isn't a bad thing. So I think if you utilize it in a way of celebration, a way of bonding with others, having a couple social drinks where you're controlled and you're actually just enjoying those as celebration is great. So, but like you said, it's like you kind of had this week and you're like, well, we didn't really, not that you didn't do anything, you moved towards things, but it's like there's nothing really to celebrate, or maybe we just had one social drink, let's go home and wake up feeling great, get after a lift.
And you know what happened is that whole week we were struggling with TikTok ads, for example, because I was like, we have to meet with our ads manager and then blah, blah, blah. And then Sunday, I felt great because I only had one drink. Sunday was such a productive day, and this whole week has been great. And you know why we think as well it's been productive? Because we went to church together on Sunday.
Boom.
That was the first time that I brought Jimmy to Radiance. He really liked it.
Dude, that message was amazing. Home for the holidays. Yeah. It talks about there's 3 points to the lesson. I wish I had them. I actually probably could go get it, but I'm not going to do that. But it talks about waiting, the importance of waiting, man.
Oh, so that was good.
The first point is like the Advent is the waiting for Christmas, man. And it's so important because it would talk about a Jesus-focused Christmas. Mm-hmm. And so being able to look at the holidays and be like, well, this is when like Jesus was born. And so being able to, up to then, praise him and like wait for that Christmas day. And for kids, it's all made about Christmas and kind of the material things. And that's hard because kids get excited. So that's not bad. But as adults and as you grow in your faith, it's like, no, we're like waiting and we're worshiping the Lord in a way that, when he gave us his son and birthed the son to this earth. And so I think that's important. But that message was good. But starting off your Sunday with, in my eyes, peace, and going actually with someone who's going to help you get work done for the day and then getting off on the right foot.
Dude, huge. The synergy was nuts.
Yeah.
And he also talked about, he's like, because this is Aaron Burke, right? He was like, I remember when I was in my mid-20s, I thought, it's about time I get a wife.
Ooh, yeah.
It's about time I got to go out of my way to get in a relationship. And then when he did that.
He did do it.
And what happens?
And then he said in his sermon, he went out of his way. He talked to this not random, but girl, and it didn't work out.
Right.
And it didn't work out, and neither of them were into it because it wasn't God's timing. It was his timing.
Yeah.
And I think that's the difference, man, is we're trying to force things that aren't God's plan for us, that if they work out, they usually won't because God's protecting us, and he'll close those doors. But if they work out, they're not going to be as beautiful as if we let God work in our lives and actually wait.
Totally. Dude, that's why I'm not stressed. Because you, as a young man, you build yourself by being on your purpose, just understanding the right people will gravitate in. You only need to work out one time. That's what Hermosi says. You only need just one special partner.
Dude, that's so true. And so that leads me to, you figured out this TikTok ads thing after this peaceful Sunday, after a nice Saturday night. Mm-hmm. But what's big for you lately has been TikTok Live.
Yeah.
So we've been talking about this a lot, growing a personal brand, growing strength. But TikTok Live, You've gained over 5,000 followers in the last 2 weeks, about 2 weeks.
Yep.
How have you noticed, like, you've been able to be your authentic self and gain followers, gain loyal followers through this TikTok Live where you can be authentically you? I want you to just iterate, like, how important maybe growing your personal brand can be on TikTok Live.
All right, so let me take a step back and say, like, if I was trying to go TikTok Live 4 years ago, how Shane Skaar was 4 years ago, I don't think people would be as interested because I didn't have as much to back up.
Wow.
Because now, like, I'm not saying I'm somebody now, but I am more experienced and I can give more value.
You're a few steps up the ladder. So I like to say it, look, you're a good amount of steps. So someone watching me or you, it's like someone that's at step 0, step 1, step 2. I don't know how many steps there are, but if you're at step 7, dude, they have so many steps of knowledge they can learn from you.
Right.
If I'm step 2, step 3, someone that's still at step 1, step 0 can still learn from me.
Totally.
And like you've stepped so far up that ladder that they can ask you questions in different aspects in your life. And if they're trying to start their own fitness brand, if they're trying to be successful on balancing deep work and discipline, it's like you have some knowledge on that.
Totally.
And then they can go and see if, hey, does this work for me?
Yes. Because it goes with strength what we offer right now. If I didn't know how to do, like, because I got certified in coaching, for example.
Yeah.
We have managers of coach. I manage coaches now. We couldn't offer strength training and give this fitness and nutritional advice if I wasn't in good shape. So it goes back to everything. It goes back to how you work on yourself first. You got to fill your cup before you can fill other people's. I've always told myself that. So you continue to develop yourself and really dive into that self-improvement seasons, right? Where you're reading every day, you're meditating, you're doing the inner work, you're having that experience of going through the L's of going 100K in debt. I got so many people to reach out after seeing that video because that I haven't talked to in years. They're like, dude, I just saw that video. Holy crap. Like, massive props. And I said, thank you so much. Because I shared it because I didn't. And then when I was in it, I'm like, I'm not going to tell anybody I'm in debt. But
you don't want pity. You don't want you don't want that.
And I also don't do it for boasting. I want to say, hey, I was in this situation.
Vulnerable.
Totally. You have to be vulnerable. You have to share, hey, I was in a really dark spot. You might be in this situation right now, but trust it. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. You just have to keep showing up. So that's what I'll say with the TikTok lives is anybody can do it. But of course you have to inevitably put in the back end work. So you're somebody I don't want to say like worth listening to, but like you can provide value and actually help that person. Cause I get questions about everything, fitness, personal branding, and business. And then just life. They'll say, what's your tattoo? I'm like, hey, check it out, blah, blah, blah. Then I get into my story about faith.
Yeah. So
that was a lot.
No, I think that's important because a lot of people are going to try to go out and spread a message, but they haven't done, I'm not saying the work, but they haven't invested at all in themselves. Whereas like for me and you, I know we've put like a lot of work. I'm still 22. As I said in the last podcast, I know I don't know so much. And the whole thing with the process, I don't think I've said this on the podcast yet. It's the process of me gaining knowledge and gaining wisdom from my guests. My guests are going to provide the knowledge and the wisdom, and I'm doing work at the same time to gain knowledge and wisdom. So through reading books, through reading the word, through interacting with the guest, so that it's the process of 2 to 3 years down the line. Now I have knowledge and wisdom, and now I'm providing knowledge and wisdom along with the guest.
It's genius. Bro, it's like, okay, because you can learn through your own experiences or you can learn through other people's, and you'll learn way faster through other people's. You're a genius. You're a genius.
Dude, 100%, because I think me and Hayden talked about this, but thinking you know more than you know is so ignorant. Yeah. And that's where, like, even you said, like, I know a lot. I'm about to hit $1 million in revenue this next year, but I still know there's a lot I don't know.
Going off of that, they say that there's 3 types of people. They're lazy, stupid, or ignorant. And majority of people are ignorant. They think they know everything. They think, oh, I don't need to listen to that. I don't need to work on myself or listen to other people's opinions because my way is the highway. My way is the way. Like, I know better.
Yeah.
But then you actually listen to other people's perspectives and try to put yourself in their shoes. I feel like one thing that is really important for all business owners and just people in general, you got to be sympathetic and you have to be good at putting yourself in other people's shoes. Because if you can't see things from other perspectives, you won't be able to see where someone's coming from. I don't believe that anybody has bad intentions. Okay, maybe they do. Okay, let me word this right. I don't think anybody thinks they're in the wrong sometimes. Oh, how do I say this?
I can almost agree with that, but I think some people
right.
no. I get what you're going for.
Everybody. Okay, like think about the villains, right?
Yeah.
Like think about the Joker. He doesn't think, but he's
his
also,
backstory, bro, has created him.
Right.
And he might be subconsciously acting the way he does.
Yeah.
And those are the problems people haven't dove into. So it's like you never know what is making someone act the way they're making. I think that's what you're putting down.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to pick. That you're picking up what I'm putting down now. Like, if someone is talking crap about you, it says more about them than you.
Yes.
That's what I'm trying to say.
100%, man.
It's
a lot of the beef or the hate that people are going to throw your way is because of the insecurities that are rooted in themselves. Like, if you're getting hate, Shane, like your brand, whatever, it's because they wish they started that brand, but guess what? Someone else did. They took the action, and they're jealous, man.
Yeah.
And that's something that hopefully they can come to terms with. They can look at, why am I being this way to this person? Why am I saying these mean things to someone who's actually just trying to go and provide value to others to get in shape, to give them good fitness apparel, this kind of thing. And that's some work they have to do on themselves. No one else is going to do it for them, man. No one's going to help you when you're in that state, when you're a villain or a victim. Villain being the person who puts others down, and victim being the person who everything is happening to them.
Yeah.
Like you said in your video, man, you said happening for you or happening to you. There's a big, how you word things is huge. For us, it's everything's happening for us. Even when they're bad things, man, they're happening for us. You know, say that relationship ends. God's closing that door for us, even though it hurts in the moment. Or say, you know, but versus that relationship ends for someone else, oh, it's happening to me. And they're down about it. But they don't see that light that, like, wow, God's closing a door that should never be open for me.
Totally. And piggybacking off that too, if you see somebody else succeeding, that doesn't mean you can't succeed. It means there's a greater chance you can.
Yes. And that comes to abundance mindset. So let's say that. Let's dive into this like further. Strength is in a competition with brands like Young LA, Gymshark, Raw Gear, just to name a few, Dark Sport, whatever. So these are big brands. And whereas someone would see it like, wow, how do I ever amount to these brands that have grown so big? But when you look at it in abundance, man, that just shows, hey, these people are buying all these clothes. If I'm putting out the best stuff, that's a place where I can sell and be authentic and be in that top 10% of fitness brands, whatever it is. And so how do you look at something in abundance versus scarcity when you're a smaller brand climbing up the ladder?
Dude, huge question. Obviously, nowadays, to start a fitness brand or just a clothing brand in general, these days, it's a lot harder. Like, I don't know if I could start a clothing brand in 2024. But I'm not trying to count anybody out.
No.
Also, if anybody's listening to this interested in starting one, I'm happy to share my supplier. I'll do that with anybody. Like, it helps everybody. That's the abundance mentality you got to have, because why? Like, everybody benefits when you help somebody out. I don't know how... I don't know. Many people think that if somebody else is succeeding, it means you're losing. It's not the case, dude. I start every day with the meditations, remember? You start thinking about abundance, because you just, I tell Jimmy this a lot, and I'm not saying it's because he doesn't meditate, but I'm saying it's like, dude, we can't be worried about losing one person, because if we're focused on losing one person, then potentially it could manifest into bringing more energy and it being in a scarcity. Like, oh shoot, we need to retain. We need to be on defensive mode. No, dude. The people who want to be in your life, let them absolutely, if they serve you in the best version of you, keep them in your life. And if somebody wants to leave, you never beg. You never beg for somebody to stay in your life. If they want to walk out, okay, here's the door.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think what I want to add to that is how I look at it. I think I've told this to you, is if I'm being authentically me with absolute pure good intentions and someone still doesn't like me, they just don't like me, man.
That's okay.
Okay.
We all have preferences.
They're not meant for my life. And so when I could be like, okay, I was genuinely me. If this person likes me or they don't in this interaction, I was just being myself. And if they don't like that person, then maybe they're not meant to be in my life.
No. We have so many people in our life, bro. And, you got to okay, as we get older, I understand time's ticking too. And we can't.
In the book, it talks about this.
Really?
Yeah, where it talks about, you're putting those 10-year goals and you put your age.
Right.
Because as much as I like to say, you don't want to rush, but you want pressure. And you want to be moving towards something with a little bit of pressure, because that creates diamonds or it bursts pipes. Hey. And so I think people like us, it's going to create diamonds. But some other people can't handle the pressure.
And that's okay too.
Burst pipes.
Yeah, dude, not everyone's meant to be a business owner.
100%.
Some people will do much better on a team, and that's okay.
Yeah, and then you can start to build a team if like you did.
Yep.
And I think I don't want this, as I have a lot of entrepreneurs on, I'm going to have a lot of people in different roles and 9-to-5s, and I think that's what I want to make so clear is 9-to-5s aren't bad.
No.
9-to-5s are great benefits, and a lot of people are happy in them.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people who are only told to go into 9-to-5s their whole life, and that's the only route they see, and they're miserable. And I just want to urge people that are miserable, that feel out of alignment or frustrated, that 9-to-5 is not the only route. And I think moving to Tampa opened my eyes that there is so many different ways to make money. It just takes consistent hard work. And it might take working 80 to 100 hours a week on that thing you love with that 9-to-5, but you never know until you try.
Absolutely.
And so the path I've taken, I want to kind of iterate on, because I never saw this path. And so I was working as I went to school for finance and econ. I got my degree. I wasn't very passionate about it, but I got a role as a financial analyst in the finance sector. That's all I ever saw. That's all I was ever told. As I get this, I'm frustrated. I'm out of alignment. And so next thing you know, it's like I'm going to quit my job. And I do. And so then I'm looking for things to make ends meet. I pick up the role as a server assistant. And dude, I love it. I'm on my feet. I'm interacting with people. Everyone I work with is great. And so I'm doing this, and God blessed me that where I walked into a restaurant that everyone's amazing, supportive, and I'm making ends meet. So it's perfect. And then now I work those jobs at night. I work that job mostly nights, but it gives me the whole day to edit, to clip videos. And it's like, that's a path I took that I never saw.
Yeah.
But God kind of opened door after door and closed door after door. And it just happened that I'm in this situation. So I want to just open your eyes to those people who are frustrated and out of alignment. It's not too late to make that jump, or really put your face to the ground, your nose to the ground, and dive in.
It's in full alignment with what you're doing, bro. It's improving your communication skills, because you're talking to people all day on your feet. You're going to meet new people.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a kind of a non-traditional route a little bit with what you're doing, and that's what makes it exciting.
Yeah. So last question before we wrap up. So I want to ask, what is the best piece of advice that you've ever received? And what is one piece of advice as your journey from 18 to 24 years old, bootstrapping a fitness company, you would give to someone else starting out early to start their own business? So one piece of advice you've received and one piece of advice you would give.
Okay, I'm going to do the give one first.
Okay.
My whole message of my life is it's not what happens to you that defines you, but how you respond to it that does. I'm doing this one first because it's easier.
Yeah.
And yeah, because remember, my chest condition, I didn't have to get surgery. I didn't have to start a business. You didn't have to start a podcast.
Yeah.
We chose to. And we choose to take the situations we're in and either shine or like,
We'll let it happen to us. Yeah,
Yeah.
go to dust, let it happen to us, not control our destiny.
yeah, 100%.
Because guess what? The only thing I can't control the algorithm. I can control if I show up and post a podcast every Monday or don't. And you can control if you show up every day to your schedule, you knock out deep work, you knock your margins up, or you get them up, or whatever you do. You control if you show up and do that every day. And it's going to either work out or it doesn't. But not quitting is the only thing you control.
Big time. I love it,
Okay.
bro.
So that's the piece of advice.
My dad, I almost lost my dad a couple months ago. And, you know, I've grown a lot. I'm always close with my dad. He had an accident happen, and I just want to dedicate this quote to him. He always says, he has this song. I don't know who sings it, but it's called Humble and Kind. No matter what you do in life, if you can, like, life's simple, man. You just need to be humble and kind.
Wow.
That's all you need to do. And you'll live a meaningful life.
Dude, I love that. So we're ending it off with that. Just be humble and kind. And I think that's so important and kind of plays into the positive message of the process. Just show up every day, be humble, and be that person that's kind to everyone, because you never know whose day you can change.
Dude, you don't know what they're dealing with.
You don't know. You don't know that maybe someone saw you a month after your surgery, you were struggling, and they said, hey, Shane, how's your day going? Or, hey, how was your day? Dude, that could have changed that day and gave you that motivation for the next day. Something small like that. Not saying that happened, but it's real.
Yeah.
So,
and the energy that you put out will come back to you. It's the little things like you were talking about in your first podcast of, dude, it's just smiling and saying hi to somebody. It takes zero effort, man.
Dude,
it's
really
so simple.
And it's gonna in turn give you a little bit a boost of energy. Like, wow, I could have made that person's day. And so I want to finish off with, strength apparel, strength supplements, strength coaching. Look into it. I'm going to link, hopefully, Shane's video on here that he just posted. It's amazing. It's probably one of the better YouTube videos I've watched lately. But I want you to give your @. I'm going to tag your YouTube. So go ahead and share those right now.
Okay. Shane_Skaar on all platforms. Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Strength, STREIGNTH. For those that don't know, the word rain is in the middle of strength, and our mottos are rain from within. Strength.com. ShaneSkaar.com if you want to find that video that Palmer's referring to. And dude, I'm so excited for watching this pod, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for having me, bro.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's Shane Skaar, and that's episode 3 of The Process. Thank you for watching. Peace.